What's going on, everybody? My name is Mario. This is a channel all about amusement park type stuff, but mostly coasters. Let's talk about amusement parks like rides in the dark. Rides right here and rides all over, but mostly coasters, mostly coasters. We'll talk about all kind of things, but mostly coasters. I have a little bit of a new setup, so apologies if the lighting or framing is weird. Today I want to make a video that I've been kind of interested in making for a while, and that is what are the best drops that I've been on. Now, before we get into the actual top 10, I just wanted to shout out some honorable mentions. To start things off, we have Millennium Force, fantastic view, insanely tall drop, super long. It just doesn't provide the forces that I would like it to. Banshee is another one that has a really good drop. It's my favorite drop on an invert. It feels like you're going straight down on that twisting drop. Next up, we got Gatekeeper, which the first drop is an inversion, so like, is it really a drop? But really unique, definitely worth mentioning. Now, Diamondback at Frontier City does technically have a first drop, but it's after a launch, so I don't know if it's really fair to lump it in with these other coasters. Same with Accelerator. Both have really good ejector airtime. Would definitely be in the top 10 if I were including them, but I'm kind of just going for more traditional lift into drop type coasters, like that one and that one. And speaking of that one, let's get into the top 10, where at number 10, we have Twisted Colossus. I'm just counting the blue side because that's the technical first drop after the first chain lift. I remember the first time riding this, I was not yet an enthusiast. I sat in the back row and just had no idea your stomach could drop that much on a first drop of a roller coaster. To this day, it's still one of my favorite first drops. The only downfall is that you only really feel it towards the back. In the front row, you dangle over the edge a little bit, and then you don't really get too much airtime going down that first drop. Next up at number 9, we have Joker at Six Flags Discovery Kingdom. And while I do actually prefer Twisted Colossus overall, I do think that Joker has a better first drop. Joker's first drop is also only good towards the back of the train, but the ejector airtime back there is just as strong on Twisted Colossus in my opinion. And the first drop is a little more dynamic because it ends with a twist. Like literally, not like there's a surprise at the bottom of the drop. No, like there's a turn. So not only does that make it more enjoyable in the back row, but with the front, you still at least get to experience some of those laterals, making this first drop overall better than Twisted Colossus's. Joker's first drop, really solid. Next up, we have a coaster that some enthusiasts sort of poo-poo at, and this is Valravn. Now, even though dive coasters are one-trick ponies, well, the first drop is really that trick, so it has to be pretty good, right? I'm pretty sure Valravn is the tallest vertical drop that I've been on, unless you count Superman Escape from Krypton. But that one's not as fun, so I don't really care. But other than that, Valravn is the tallest vertical drop that I've been on. I don't know if the holding brake really counts when considering this for one of the best drops that I've been on, but it does have that little added suspense. And on dive coasters, you can really appreciate the drop in the front row, which you can't really do with a lot of other coasters that provide really great airtime, because that airtime mainly comes in the back row, especially with RMCs. Valravn specifically, those vest restraints do keep you down in your seat, but you do feel like you're floating a little bit. You feel like you're falling for a very long time, staring straight at the ground that entire time. So again, while I might not like this ride overall as much as the last two coasters, I definitely think the first drop overall is better. Next up, we got another RMC. At number 7, we have Iron Rattler. I just recently rode this coaster about 2 weeks ago, and I gotta say, I really got an appreciation for that first drop. Now, this coaster used to slow down a lot at the top of the chain lift, much like that one. But on my most recent visit, I think it's still slowed down a little bit, but not nearly as much as it used to. This first drop is sort of similar to Joker in the sense that you are not only getting airtime, but you're also getting laterals. So about maybe a quarter of the way down the first drop, there's actually a slight twist in the track. So you're going over, get the airtime, then get twisted. Really more interesting than just going straight down, but not like a twisting drop where you're not really going to feel the airtime at all. You feel both the airtimes and the laterals in individually, but all packed within the first drop. But again, same as the other two RMCs, it's only really fantastic in the back row. At number 6, we have 2 coasters in the same spot because they are just mirrored clones of each other. And these coasters are Wonder Woman Golden Lasso coaster at Six Flags Fiesta, Texas, and Railblazer at California's Great America. Man, oh man, holy ejector airtime, do you get flung out of your seat in the back row. And the airtime on this first drop is so strong that it's pretty much the entire back half of the train. So the last 4 rows actually get insane ejector airtime. It's the strongest in the back, but you can still enjoy it from, I think, rows 5 and back. And even though you might not be getting as strong of airtime in the front 4 rows, you are still getting a cool little effect of dangling over the edge, and you do get a little bit of floater as well. And I would say pretty much the only downside is the vest restraints. Specifically on Wonder Woman Golden Lasso coaster, I found them more uncomfortable, but with how intense the airtime is and how much you get thrown up out of your seat, you do get pushed into those vest restraints quite a bit. But other than that, absolutely fantastic. And if we were judging best first drops in the back row of coasters, this would definitely be like number 3 at worst. Okay, at number 5, we have another dive coaster. This one, Shikra at Busch Gardens, Tampa. Now, I have only ridden this in the back row, but in the back row, you actually get ejector airtime. And where this coaster stands out from Valravn is the fact that it has traditional B&M over-the-shoulder restraints, which I am typically not a huge fan of those style of restraints. But since dive coasters are so graceful and don't really have any fast-paced transitions, I do actually like them, especially for that first drop where you come out of your seat, especially in that back row when you get ejector. And just like Valravn, a long drop straight down, super fun, and that holding brake adds to the experience as well. Okay, getting further into the top 5, we have HangTime at Knott's Berry Farm, as you can see. And this is one of only 2 coasters that I've been on that have a beyond vertical drop, and I love it. It is so good. And much like the other traditional dive coasters on this list, it does not matter where you sit. You are definitely coming out of your seat on this coaster. With the drop being beyond vertical, you're getting fantastic ejector. In the back row, you are truly getting flung. I think the only thing that would make this drop better is if you went from the holding brake where you're motionless to then free falling as opposed to dragging through some brake fins. But regardless, this drop is so good. Absolutely love it. Clearly. Yeah, my dude, number 4. Okay. Number 3 on this list might be a little surprising, but it's so good. El Loco at the Adventure Dome. Now, unlike pretty much every other coaster on this list up to this point, this coaster takes its first drop with a lot of momentum, especially for how steep and abrupt the curvature of the drop is. Also, apologies for the footage. I was not really an enthusiast at the time of taking this, so it is vertical. Better than nothing, I guess. But with the entire train only being 1 car and 2 rows, there's no reason that this drop needs to be gradual, and it is so fantastic, especially with the space restrictions that SNS had to work with when they were putting this in. I don't think there could be much better of a coaster in that small of a space. I mean, to fit a vertical drop inside of a building and on a coaster that's under 100 feet tall, amazing. All right, number 1 and 2 were so hard for me to place. Vastly different experiences. I mean, one of them giving some of the best ejector airtime ever, and then the other one being as unique as it gets, in the United States at least. I still don't know which to put where. Sorry, X2, but X2 has to take the number 2 spot. But this is one of those rare coasters where it does not matter where you sit for the first drop. It's going to be awesome. Specifically speaking about the front and back rows, in the front, you have an incredible view where you feel like you're skydiving. I would assume. You have nothing in front of you, nothing really to the sides of you either, at least if you're sitting on the outside seat. Nothing above your head or below your feet. I mean, everyone is just behind you, so it feels so open, feels like there's nothing there, and you're plummeting face first towards the concrete. So freaking incredible. And let's talk about the back row. Probably the most intense drop on any coaster in the back row. It's not really... You don't get airtime because you're facing towards the ground, but you are still getting pulled down the first drop. I don't know how to explain how it feels, but it feels weird. Like instead of your stomach like going up towards your throat, it goes like into your back, which sounds like horrible kind of, but that's what makes it so intense and terrifying and awesome. At the point at which you start accelerating down that drop, you start rotating as well. So, I mean, that is just so weird, so unique. I think that describes a lot of X2, but the first drop in particular is one of the most standout elements on any coaster. And every row in between the front and the back too is still fantastic. And then number one, you already know, Maverick. I mean, this ride is fantastic in almost every way possible, and it really gets things started off with a fantastic sort of launch lift. I know I'm not including other launch coasters, but the launch is basically a lift. It's my list, my rules. But yeah, ejector airtime cranked up to 11 on that first drop. You get ejector airtime in the front row. Similar to El Loco, you're taking it with momentum, so even though the front row has the weakest ejector airtime, it still has pretty strong ejector airtime, and since it's such a short drop, it's so weird and abrupt, and you curl over yourself and then you get slammed back in your seat while you're still falling, followed by really great laterals. It has so much good stuff packed into such a little tiny piece, kind of just like the entire ride in general. And in the back row, it really is just bonkers. I mean, just you feel the blood pumping into your head from the ejector airtime, which again, might not sound enjoyable, but if you're an airtime junkie like a lot of... But if you are an airtime junkie like a lot of us enthusiasts are, then you're gonna love it. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. I know it's been a minute since I've done one of these lists. I'd like to do more non-vlog related content. It's just been a very long time since I have even been able to, with the moving from coast to coast. I'm just trying to get my life figured out. Go ahead and give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, of course. 2 thumbs down if you didn't like it. Otherwise, how will I know if you didn't like it? Go ahead and comment. Let me know what some of your favorite first drops are. Also, share and subscribe. That would be awesome. But with all that being said, this is the end of the video.